Thank you. Gosh, so much relatable content, so much rich content. There's so many threads that I'd love to pick up on, but I'll start with making the contribution that has come through that I would love to share with you all. Thank you, thank you. I feel very blessed and honored to be with you all, and I hope this is the first of many delicious conversations with all of you. So when I asked, and I was doing my preparation about what wants to be offered here today, the topic that came was to share, it's sacred ecology in living communion. And what a privilege to talk about this. And the topic that came was to talk about ritual. Share about ritual as an embodied prayer, ritual as a way of returning into communion with all of life. So I'll just share what comes. I do have some notes, but I'll just allow the river to flow. So I'm aware that I'm speaking from my knowledge lineages, which are African, my Indigenous Kwena, Bushman, Zulu ancestors, Tswana ancestors, as well as the knowledge of the Dagara people of West Africa, into whose medicine I'm also adopted. And then I'm also aware that over the years of training and learning, I'm also aware that there are so many similarities and relatability across Indigenous and old cultures around the world. And in fascinating ways, the old cultures they all practice very similar principles, orders, and protocols around certain things. So as I share, this is not just an only exclusively African experience. I want to open it up as well in this model that it is an inclusive sharing. And absolutely not complete. And I won't have time to complete either in a lifetime, and definitely not in 10 minutes. So what is ritual? What is ritual for us? Ritual for us is the inclusion of spirit. It is an intentional request from spirit to intervene. It is also a way for us to align with the spirit world. So from this perspective, spirit is always present. The ancestors are always ready. The elements, the guardians, the fae, we call them the little people, they're always ready. It's us who are not aligned. So we use ritual to bring us into alignment. So ritual is the inclusion of spirit into everything that we do. We align into spirit, into the world of spirit, world of the ancestors and the elementals and the beings before we take action in the world, because we understand that our actions have consequences. So we align before we move. We align before we start our community projects, before we do our work. I haven't always aligned in my life. I spent many years in corporate communications in Johannesburg, driving a BMW and getting stuck in traffic, wondering why my life was not working. Until finally I accepted my ancestral call and started the work of remembering and coming back, much like Valerie, your journey, your transition journey. And I think so many of us here would have at some point gone into some kind of transition of remembering. And so I plunged very deeply into the African technologies. We call ritual a technology. Ritual is a technology. It is the technology for engaging the world of spirit. This is the old technology, the ancient. And we bring it back into the new world, because for a long time I thought that I'm going to go all the way back there. And I had this romantic idea of the old culture. And I had this really, it was this utopian, amazing, beautiful experience. And then somebody said to me once, well, our ancestors walked away from that, so there must have been a reason why. Maybe we can take what worked and bring it into this context. And maybe there is, I love that phrase, ancient modern, Violeta, from your ancient modern wisdom. So ritual is this connection to the life force. It is the connection to the flow of love, to the creative life force, the realm of the ancestors, elements, guides, angels, however you call them. It's the technology in which we use our bodies as an instrument for connection. We turn on all our sensory capacities all the feeling, memories, sounds, smells. And also we do rituals at the right time, at the right seasons, with the right community. There's a time to do certain things, and there's a time to wait and receive. There's a time to give. There's a time to plow. So very much in alignment with when things get done. It's not like ancient African people didn't build. They did. They built. They had cities. They had homesteads, and they had a way of living. But there were certain times of year that building was done. So when we're building cities and when we're designing school educations and curriculums, when is the time to do this? And are we in alignment with when the information wants to come through? So these are the kinds of questions we ask about ritual. There are orders, there are protocols, there are even hierarchies in ritual. And these can be followed in our contemporary lives, in our projects, into everything we love and touch and impact. Anybody who has a garden will know there's a time to plant, there's a time to weed. One of the very fundamental beginning principles when we do ritual work is that we start with greeting our ancestors and all of the spirit beings. And that includes, Eric, actually our teachers. If we had more time to do that is based on the seated meditation, it can take hours to go through all the ancestors that we would normally say them all by name and greet everybody. It includes our teachers that have passed on into the ancestral world. It includes all teachers that have touched us and influenced our lives, adoptive parents, significant caregivers outside our family system, and our biological family. It includes the tree in your garden that may have helped you through sometimes, that has now moved on. It includes all the ancestors. But yes, we had 5 minutes. Big conversation. So we start with greeting everyone and we welcome everyone. And we say we're welcoming everyone, but actually we're aligning ourselves. So we like to, we think it's us that we are welcoming, but it's actually us adjusting ourselves. One of the other core principles of ritual is the exchange. And one of the simplest principles is that we give before we receive. In our village here, it's a rural village, and many of the people still have many of the old Indigenous practices. So I have some of the old people, they come and visit me. They really don't have much, as you will know from many other Indigenous and older communities around the world. They're very impoverished, and they've been severely impacted by the systemic colonization over the years. They don't have much, but they do show up at my house with bags of nectarines and carrots and onions from their gardens and butternut, and somebody makes a pot of something, and they keep delivering things to me. And I know at some point somebody's going to arrive and start talking about symptoms of some health ailment or problems that they're having in their family. And then I know at that point, that is then my cue to offer the healing work that I do, because they've built up a store, they've given in order to receive. So when the people start arriving with bags of potatoes and things, I know at some point there's going to be a request for some healing work to be done. We give before we receive. Imagine if we could do that before we build the next building. We give to the land, we give to the spirits before we build, before we take from nature. Simple principle, but so applicable. We can apply it now. One of the other principles is that we leave no one behind. We build for the most vulnerable. And the pace of a ritual, the rhythm of the ritual, is for the slowest person, the most vulnerable, or the elder, or the children, if the children are involved. And in African life, the children are always involved. They're always around. And if it's not appropriate for them, the ritual is done separately and taken away from the community. And there are some personal rituals that are not appropriate for children. That is also one of the other principles. Everybody has a role and everybody has a function. The elders have their place, the ancestors have their place. Adults must be adults, children must be children. there are some conversations that are not appropriate for children. There's emotional work that children should not be carrying on behalf of the adults. They should not be hearing, they should not be engaged in. And somewhere in our modern lives, children are just exposed to absolutely everything before they can develop cognitively. And Wendy and Valerie also showed us the development cycles that are so fundamental. And in the old cultures, they really understood this. And they didn't have the technical knowledge for it. It was basically respect your elders, and this is a conversation for adults. But there was a lot more meat. There's a lot more to that. But those are the principles. Oh, hello, my baby. Oh, hi. Talking about children. So there's a place for everybody. Everybody belongs. Absolutely everybody belongs. Nobody is excluded. But everybody has their place. And everybody must hold the rightful place that they are in. So if you are the leader of the ritual, you must lead. The ritual doesn't work if the leader doesn't lead, like the teams. If a team leader isn't leading, it's all a bit wonky. In a ritual, everybody must participate with their whole heart. If they don't participate, or somebody's doubting the process or talking on the side, it doesn't work. It gets all a bit funky. And I mean, my goodness, if we're going to wake up the ancestors in spirit, we may as well get serious and everybody participate with your whole heart. And actually, the ritual leader's role is also to send people home if they're not participating fully, and actually say, no, you have to leave. You're not open-hearted. You're not ready. Or if somebody's really ill and they can't participate, to let them know it's not good for them to participate. We'll do it on your behalf. So the leader has to lead and everybody has to participate fully. And everybody is the leader in some way, and they all take turns. But also the leaders have to know what their medicine is. So if you are a water person and you specialize in water and water healing and water, you must know your craft. And if it's outside your depth, you hand it over. In a ritual, we're all working for ourselves and each other. Ubuntu again. Yes, you are working for you, but you are also working for everybody. And if the symptom is in you, it means the symptom is in me. So we work for ourselves and each other simultaneously in a ritual with that understanding. So if we're working on marital problems, the way the community sees it, it's everybody's marriage. When we're in a ritual, the community came to your wedding. So when there's problems, everybody comes to the ritual. And there's process around it. A fire must be lit, herbs must be brought, they must sit and they must talk, and people from the community actually give their insights onto your marriage in a ritualized way, where there is no wrong or right, nothing to change, and there is no judgment. Where it's the understanding is that if the symptom is in this marriage, it is also in me and mine and my family, where we're working together to resolve the system and asking for healing. In African rituals, we talk out loud. And I think this is shared in many cultures. We talk out loud. We talk out loud to nature and the elements. We pray out loud. We talk, we sing, we dance. This is shared across many cultures. A lot of people call this sound healing today. And there's a very fundamental understanding that song, vibration, dance, the rhythm heals our bodies, resets our parasympathetic nervous system, and also heals the world around us. The old people say the trees want to hear from us. Are you singing to your plants? They don't look happy. Are you talking to the water? The water is not doing what it's supposed to do. I walk a lot with the elders here in the village, and they're like, "Ooh, this mountain is angry." Or they'll say things like the grass is having a bad month. Let's talk to the grass. Something was late. Ah. Sound healing. And also when we talk out loud, what I've realized somewhere along the way is that this talking out loud actually reprograms us, something that we call neuro-linguistic programming now. And I realized that at one point I was doing this course in neuro-linguistic programming, and I was doing my African traditional work at the same time. And this talking out loud was the same kind of rewiring. So that's why we talk out loud. We pray out loud. Each person in the circle gets a turn to pray out loud. This is a big conversation. If that hand is up, does it mean I need to start circling? Okay. I see the hand. Everyone has their place. Everyone belongs. And the balance of giving and receiving must be kept in a dynamic. So it's not static either, it's a dynamic. There's a giving and receiving, giving and receiving. Every place has its own vibration. When we do Thanksgiving, we don't do it at a place that has a farewell energy, for example. We feed the little people. We give them their food. Feed the waters. Feed the spirits. And participate fully in life after a ritual.